Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I'm going to show you a card that we did in stamp class a few weeks ago. And at this class we used acrylic blocks for stamping. So this whole background here was made by coloring on an acrylic block. It really is a great technique. Excuse me. So this is the first one we're going to make. So let me get started and tell you what we need for that. For our paper, we have thick whisper white, just cut it 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Then we have a piece of crumb cake, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and a piece of whisper white, which is 3 3/4 by 5. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat because I do want some give. We're going to bring in the small piece of whisper white, and we're going to color on our acrylic block. This is Stampin' Up's E-Block, and it's perfect for a stamp that is, for a card front that is 3 3/4 by 5, excuse me. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I have my Stampin' Right markers, and I have 3 here. I have Crumb Cake, Balmy Blue, and Bermuda Bay. So I'm going to use the thick end of the card, the marker, and I'm going to color on my block. So, excuse me one sec. I'm going to come up, about an inch and a quarter or so. I'm going to make my sand. And you can barely see it. But the most important thing I would say is to just make sure you get to the edges. Although one of the ladies at stamp class, she didn't color all the way to the end. She just colored on the inside. She wanted to give it more of a watercolor look, and it came out absolutely beautiful. Then I'm going to bring in my Bermuda Bay, and I'm going to turn this upside down so that my crumb cake is on the top, just so I don't get my hand smudged in it. And I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm probably going to come up, about 1 1/2 inches. And again, I'm just going to get to the edges. And as you can see, I'm just going back and forth. Just want to make sure that I do go from one color to the other, that I don't keep a white space there. So then I'm going to come in with my Balmy Blue, and that's going to be my sky. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure I come up to the edge there. And as you can see, you really can't see the marker on the block, but it's there. So look, if I put it down, you can see it. Okay? So now I'm going to come in with my Stampin' Spritzer. And I'm going to do this off camera so I don't make a mess here. With the little spray pot, I'm going to just give this a couple squirts off camera. I don't want to saturate it. I just want to wet it so that the color blends. And now I'm going to come over. I'm going to stand up so that I get a good pressure. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to bring it up towards the top. I do want a little bit of white here because I want to put a sentiment in there. I'm going to bring this right about center. I'm going to come down. You can see all the colors blending together, and then I'm going to really push. And you can see when you push where the colors are hitting the paper. Now, when you do this, obviously you might lift this up and you might find little white spots like this. And that's fine. It's supposed to look watercolored. I actually had a lady at class who had a white spot like this right here in her water, and it looked perfect. She couldn't have done it any better if she wanted to. It looked like she had sun hitting her ocean, and it just looked phenomenal. Okay, so I think I've pressed this nicely. I'm going to lift up my block, and there is my background. And that's pretty in and of itself. And you can see where I have my little white spots here, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. So now I want to make this look more like sky, ocean, and water, and sand, excuse me. So I'm going to bring in the High Tide stamp set, and I'm going to use these birds I'm going to use the ripples of the water, and I'm going to use these blades of grass. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my blades of grass, and with Pure Pizzazz, I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I'm just going to scatter, still using my Pierce mat because it is a photopolymer stamp set. I'm going to scatter a little bit of grass everywhere, and that looks nice. Now I'm going to do my birds, and for that I'm going to use Memento ink. Now Memento is, these stamp pads are foam pads, and Memento is a felt pad, so you do have to be a little more, I don't want to say aggressive, but aggressive I guess is the right word, in inking up your stamp pad, your stamp. The foam, you just tap, 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 and you get a nice crisp image. With the felt, you do need to get that ink right onto your stamp. So again, here are my birds, and I'm just gonna put them flying through the sky right up. Okay, don't know what was happening there. My camera started beeping, but anyway, I hope I didn't miss anything. I'm gonna press down on my. Okay, so now I want to make ripples in my ocean. So for that, I'm going to bring in a little piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to bring in the image of the ripples and my Bermuda Bay. I'm going to ink this up. Now, this stamp has ragged edges, and I want to make sure that I don't go past that little mark there. So with my scrap paper, I'm just going to mask this part off right here, and then I'm going to come in and add my ripples. Now you see my ocean is wider than my stamp, so I'm going to do that twice. I'm going to come in over here, and then I want to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to use my scrap paper as a mask. I'm going to add some ripples, and I'm going to do it again. And there is my peaceful scene. Isn't that nice? And now I have a little piece of spot of white here, so that's where I'm going to put my sentiment, and I'm going to make this as a sympathy card. So I'm going to come in here and just stamp sending prayers. It could be a get well card as well, sending prayers. And then the last thing we need to do is simply mount this onto our card. So a little bit of snail, and I'm going to mount that. Is a very tiny border. You know me, I love tiny borders. Just a hint of a color peeking out underneath. And then I'm going to mount that onto my Whisper White. And there we go. Isn't that beautiful? And it's the same design, and you can see that it just looks very differently based on how your ink transferred over onto your block. Now this is a great technique, and here are a couple other cards that I made a while back ago. This uses the touches of texture, which sadly is going to be retiring, and I absolutely love that. And I used different size blocks in different colors, and then just put stamped black images in black. And then this one is almost the same as this, but I did it with more monotone. It's all done in Daffodil Delight. And then, take it out of a sleeve. Here's another one I did with a set that's retired. I think it was called We've Got This, I think. And I just used the stamp block and then put different colors of the flower, and that's really, really very pretty. I will be showing you how to do this using stamp pads instead of the markers in an upcoming video. But if you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I use, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. Thanks so much. I'll catch you back here later.